that's one of the biggest areas of my concentration, is to ensure that the titling process that will enable the people from the inner city that have suffered from a lack of security, of tenure, that they will be given that security.
And so the Andrew Holness-led government will be undertaking a comprehensive multi-agency national survey on squatter settlements. This upcoming financial year, the government will also be executing a $1 billion social housing program targeting indigent housing, relocation of vulnerable communities, and the upgrading of tenements. Be sure to watch Jamaica Magazine every day to get accurate and up-to-date information on the plans for the 2019-2020 financial year. We continue our program with news you can use. Stay with us.
Don't make diseases spread. Wash your hands with soap and water instead. Wash them regular or use a hand sanitizer. Make sure the germs them dead. Touching your eyes or your mouth or your nose. Wash your hands before you do things like those. After you use the bathroom before preparing food, come on, wash your hand them clean.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, February 18. Cabinet has approved several contracts to undertake development works on the island. Information Minister Senator Ruel Reid says a contract has been approved for the acquisition of a $30 million coastal surveillance system, Coastwatcher 100. It is being sourced from France-based Thales Group and is a component of the Maritime Domain Awareness Capability Initiative. The funds will be paid over 3 financial years, beginning in the third quarter of the current fiscal year. Minister Reid says Cabinet has also approved a contract worth $1.23 million for IMCA Jamaica Limited to supply and install a new standby generator and accessories for the Norman Manley International Airport. And approval has been granted for the JUTC to get started on Phase 1 of installing a hydro clean oil and bypass filtration system in its fleet of buses. The $251 million contract was awarded to El Hydron Incorporated.
Cabinet also approved the award of a contract to Chins Construction Company in the sum of $62,987,500 to undertake road rehabilitation and drainage improvement works along the Sir John Golding Road in St. Andrew.
During the recent post-cabinet media briefing, Minister Ruel Reid also announced that provisions would be made for special needs students sitting the Primary Exit Profile PEP exam on February 26. They will be among the first cohort of grade 6 students to sit the ability test component of PEP.
There are 304 students who have applied for special support. They would have submitted psychoeducation reports, and these have been evaluated by the special education unit. The recommendations which have been made have been communicated to approximately 95% of these students.
The Education Minister says that for the performance task test, students with physical disabilities will be provided with a writer.
Students will be granted an extra 30 minutes beyond the allotted 2 hours to complete their performance tasks, and an extra 20 minutes for other exams, which will range from 1 hour and 15 minutes for ability tests to 1 hour and 30 minutes for the curriculum-based tests.
4 fire trucks are among a fleet of vehicles to be purchased soon for the Jamaica Fire Brigade. The other purchases include 2 water tankers, 5 emergency command vehicles, 1 box body truck, and a deposit to be made on 2 additional fire trucks. These will be bought from the $498 million allocated to the Acquisition of Fixed Assets project to be implemented by the Local Government and Community Development Ministry. The allocation is outlined in the 2019-2020 Estimates of Expenditure, which was tabled in Parliament last week and will be reviewed by the Standing Finance Committee on March 4 and 5. The state will be acquiring 2 additional shelters for abused women in the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, says they will complement the first national shelter that will be opened by the end of March.
And so we will have a shelter that would assist or provide coverage for women in the mid-island and also in the east of the island and in the western end of the island.
Minister Grange was speaking to JIS News following Thursday's ceremonial opening of Parliament. She said acquisition of the shelters was in keeping with the 10-year National Strategic Action Plan to eliminate gender-based violence in Jamaica. In support of that, Minister Grange said priority would also be placed on the review of key pieces of legislation, including the Domestic Violence, Offences Against the Persons, and Sexual Offences Acts. The Prevention of Sexual Harassment Bill will also be tabled in the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Meanwhile, newly appointed State Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, Floyd Green, says he plans to put youth at the center of economic growth during his tenure at the ministry.
In any economy, if it is really to grow and to grow well, then you have to ensure that your small and medium-sized enterprises are getting the required focus. And I think that will be part of my remit, part of the role. That is part that I'm looking forward to. And especially with our young new business owners, how can we make life easier for people to own a business in Jamaica? So, it's still early days yet. You still have to take direction from the ministers, but definitely I'm looking forward to those things and clearly what I can do on the legislative front, drawing from my law background in the ministry.
Minister Green, who was at the Education, Youth and Information Ministry, was assigned to MICAF on February 14. And finally, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is appealing for wide-scale support to reduce road fatalities, stressing that the economic impact of road traffic crashes is a big burden to taxpayers.
The costs are high. The medical cost of road crashes was $1.4 billion in 2014. And the indirect productivity losses, this is based on studies we have done in the health system, $1.8 billion. In a country where we have limited resources for public health, we have to embrace the need for a collective approach to bring greater awareness and enforcement of the rules in order to minimize, if not below, certainly well below 300, those who are impacted on our roads, and not to mention those who have to be treated.
Dr. Tufton was addressing the National Road Safety Council's recent launch of its renewed and reinvigorated campaign to reduce the number of yearly fatalities from road crashes to below 300. The Below 300 campaign, which uses the tagline, "It could be you," aims to employ a safe system approach to road use. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Stop smoking around me! Without cigarettes, the world will be much better. Smoking is bad for your health, and when grown-ups smoke around us, we are breathing in their smoke too.
Cigarette smoking is bad for your health and the health of those around you. Don't smoke around children. A message from the Pan American Health Organization.
The objective of this bill is to address areas not adequately covered in the existing legislation, which includes tobacco advertising, promotion and sponsorship, as well as the prohibition of sales of all forms of tobacco and its products to minors.
Here's why we support the government's decision to pursue the development of a comprehensive tobacco bill.
Over the years, the prevalence of smoking among our youth from as early as age 13 has been steadily spiraling upward. The most recent Global Tobacco Youth Survey showed that smokers in the age group 13 to 15 increased from 15% to nearly 25% over a 9-year period. This trend is of concern, considering the ill effects of smoking.
Cigarette smoking is associated with nearly every cancer you can imagine. Cancer of the tongue, cancer of the breast, cancer of the cervix, cancer of the pharynx, cancer of the stomach, just to name a few.
There are over 4,000 chemicals in cigarettes that are harmful to the human body.
For example, chemicals that are found in embalming fluid, what is used to preserve dead bodies, chemicals which are found in rat poison, insecticide, chemicals that are found in battery. All of these chemicals are found in cigarette.
Among young people, the short-term health consequences of smoking includes respiratory and non-respiratory effects, addiction to nicotine, and the associated risk of other substance abuse. Long-term health consequences of youth smoking are reinforced by the fact that most young people who smoke regularly continue to smoke throughout their adult years. Tobacco can affect youth activities and athletic performance as it narrows blood vessels and puts a strain on the heart.
In addition to traditional cigarette smoking, there have been some rising new trends among our youth.
We have observed a lot of parties, what they call the hookah parties. So the hookahs now comes in different flavors. So there's this myth about there that the hookah pipe is much safer than the smoking cigarette because the water inside of it actually filters out the smoke. But the research it actually does show that the hookahs still can cause cancer, TB, or even an STI, because most persons, when they share the tip of they don't change it. So if a person has one STI, actually can pass to the other person.
Then there are e-cigarettes.
The e-cigarettes don't have tobacco per se, but they have nicotine, they have other chemicals in it, and many of them come flavored. They are glamorized, right, because many of them are marketed by celebrities, and they are touted as being relatively safe. But not because they don't have tobacco and many of the other chemicals that are seen in cigarettes. They are not necessarily safe. They do have other chemicals. And one chemical that is seen in some of the flavorings that are used in e-cigarettes is called diacetyl. Diacetyl is a chemical that was used to make the buttery flavor that was used to give microwave popcorn that taste. It was then banned because the factory workers in the factories making the microwave popcorn got ill.
Another popular smoking option among teenagers is marijuana. But does marijuana or ganja smoking pose any risk to the teenage smoker?
The research does show that there's a big difference between a teenager smoking and an adult smoking. And the simple fact is this, is that your brain is not fully developed until age 20 to 23. So there's a part of the brain which controls the executive function of the body, weighing consequence, all of these different things. So when you start using drugs at an early age, it actually impacts that part of the brain. So that's why you do have some of the students, so if you realize they're not doing well in class, right? It's like they get very upset or angry easily. All the research shows that once you start smoking from an early age, the long-term consequences are more severe. For example, in the 30s, if you start smoking as a teenager, later on in life, when it lowers your IQ level.
The Jamaica Cancer Society cites peer pressure, stressful relationships, and unresolved challenges at home as the three main reasons for teenage smoking.
Unfortunately, many young persons are under the mistaken impression that cigarettes eliminate stress. This is certainly not so. We therefore encourage students to seek help from their parents and teachers to resolve any issues that they may be facing. Do not turn to smoking for answers.
To help teenagers quit smoking, there is the Fresh Start Smoking Cessation Program, offered by the Jamaica Cancer Society in association with the American Cancer Society.
This is a comprehensive 4-session group-based course that covers issues such as nicotine addiction, managing withdrawal symptoms, weight control, stress management, recognizing and planning for possible obstacles to quitting, staying tobacco-free, and enjoying being a non-smoker.
There's also an annual anti-tobacco youth forum held in February to educate high school students about the dangers of smoking.
Many young people feel that lung cancer in particular is a disease of the elderly and that they have years ahead of them before the dangers of smoking will affect them. So it is our responsibility to educate and to be able to tell our younger folk, don't start if you haven't started, and to stop if you actually have, because the dangers of cigarette smoking actually start from day one. from that first cigarette.
For more information on programs to help teens quit smoking, contact the Jamaica Cancer Society at 927-4265 or visit their website at jamaicacancersociety.org. You may also call the National Council on Drug Abuse at 926-9002-4 or visit their website at ncda.org.jm.
We want a productive Jamaica. We all are productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, pathway to prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
The government aims to create the conditions for sustained growth by improving the ease of doing business in Jamaica.
The Companies Office of Jamaica is playing its part by making it easier to register new businesses on the island. Take a look.
Have you realized that more and more Jamaicans are becoming their own bosses? Think about it. Varying types of companies or businesses are being opened all over the island. But before they could start their operations, they first had to be registered with the Companies Office of Jamaica, COJ. The process to register a business and a company are not the same. In fact, many believe that a company is the same as a business, but they really aren't. A company is a non-profit or profit-generating commercial enterprise registered or incorporated under the Companies Act, while a business is a sole trader or partnership registered under the Business Names Act. So with that said, we will be differentiating the registration process for each of these two groups for you. Let's begin with how to register a business. For new applicants, you will need to complete and submit the Business Registration Form BRF1, also known as the Super Form. You will also need a document verifying the owner or owner's current place of address, such as a driver's license or utility bill. The business owner or owners must present their tax registration number or TRN, an original valid government identification card, and a work permit or exemption letter where applicable. Professional certification is required for some businesses, such as doctors, lawyers, dentists, pharmacists, engineers, architects, surveyors, real estate dealers and developers, custom brokers, hairdressers, barbers, pest control operators, child care and golden age care services. Now the last thing left to do is to pay the necessary registration fees. The registration fee of a sole trader is $2,500. To register a partnership of 2 to 5 persons is also $2,500. The registration fee of a partnership of 6 to 20 persons is $5,000. And the registration of a partnership and a trade name as it relates to a corporation is $3,000 each. After you've submitted all the relevant documents and made the requisite payments, the documents will be verified by the COJ. Then within 2 working days, you'll receive a certificate of registration. This certificate is valid for 3 years, and the TRN and NIS number of your business will be displayed at the base. Certification ensures that you are registered with the National Housing Trust and Heart Trust NTA. Now, let's move on to how to register your company. There are some company owners who, before registering their non-profit or profit-generating company, reserved their company name. The COJ has made it possible for these persons who may not be able to afford the fees associated with the registration of their company or who are in the process of accumulating the relevant documents to first reserve a name for their company up to 90 days before it's registered. This is a very beneficial opportunity because if you do this, you will 1. Establish that the proposed name is appropriate and available for use, 2. Protect the name from use by others during the 90 days reservation period, and 3. Allow your company assured use of the name for pre-incorporation contracts. So, if you decide to reserve the name of your company and reap the benefits, you will need to do 2 things. Complete and submit the company's name search and name reservation form, Form 6. And when that's done, you'll be required to pay a fee of $500 for the name search and $3,000 for the name reservation. At the end of the process, you will receive a letter advising you of the reservation of your company name. But if you choose to go right ahead and register your company, there are a few things to do. First on the list, complete the Articles of Incorporation form. If you are registering a profit-making company, you will complete Form 1A. But if you are registering a non-profit company such as a church, charity, service club, or NGO, you will be required to complete Form 1B. When completing the forms, you should ensure they contain details such as
the name of the company with the word limited added at the end, the core business of the company, the classes of shares and the maximum number of shares that the company is authorized to issue. For example, 1,000 ordinary shares.
Restrictions on share transfers. Minimum and or maximum number of directors. Names and particulars of the proposed directors and the company secretary. Names of proposed shareholders, as well as any restrictions on the business that the company may carry on. For example, the company may not support any political party. All articles will attract a stamp duty fee. Stamping is done at the COJ. The second thing to do to register your company is to complete the Business Registration Form, BRF1, also known as the Super Form. On this form, you will be filling in the required information needed on the principal director, all other directors, the company secretary, registered office, and the projected start date. These details are now mandatory for the registering of a company. The super forms should be signed by all the directors of the company, as well as the person declaring the accuracy of the information submitted on the form. This person must present an original valid government-issued identification or a certified copy of a government-issued identification card on location. The final thing to do is to pay transaction fees. The cost for registration is $24,000 and there's a minimum of $500 for stamp duty. After you've gone through all the steps and made the requisite payments, COJ will verify the documents and then you'll receive a certificate of incorporation within 5 working days.
With the certificate of incorporation, you will also receive the company's TRN and NIS number. The certification ensures that you are registered with the National Housing Trust and Hard Trust NTA. You also get a tax compliance certificate, TCC, which is valid for 90 days. If the time period to get your certificate is too long and you want to register at the soonest possible time, then you can make use of the expedition services offered by the COJ. There's the same-day service which can be accessed at a cost of $6,000 for companies and $3,000 for businesses. Then there's the next-day express service which can be accessed at a cost of $3,000 for companies and $1,500 for businesses. The cutoff time for the same-day express service is 9:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. for the next-day express service. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to contact the company's Office of Jamaica for more information by calling 908-4419 or visiting their office at 1 Grenada Way, Kingston 5. Remember, you can access all forms and samples on the COJ's website at orcjamaica.com. Congratulations to you and all the best with your business or company.
It's around this time of year that many parents of children attending basic school for the very first time start making plans for the upcoming academic year. If you're such a parent, this next feature is for you.
I'm a circle, circle, I wanna be a square. I wanna be a
Are you the parent of a soon-to-be 3 or 4-year-old? If it's not already, this will become your reality in a couple of months. You've begun to prepare mentally and financially, and you've probably started the process of selecting a school for your child. Now, as you help your child get ready for this next phase of life, here are some tips on what you need to know about the school registration process.
A is for apple, apple. B is for bull, bull.
Having decided on the school of your choice, you need to find out when they're having the registration, because you want to be on time, you don't want to miss out on the school of your choice.
Generally, registration for preschool or basic school begins anywhere between January and May each year.
Fish, G is for gorilla, gorilla.
You get your application letter. Attached to the application form will be a cover letter stating when we'll have orientation, when they're meeting, when it's registration. So you follow that. It also states categorically that if you miss one of these meetings, then you automatically give up your space because one leads to the other.
Having been told when the registration will be, you go to the school. They will give you the information that you need for registration. Usually you need birth certificate, immunization, and 2 photographs of the child, passport size photograph. There will be a registration fee, and you will be told when is their orientation.
Q is for question, question. R is for ring.
During the parents' orientation, we will have more documents for you to fill out. There's a medical that's required by the Early Child Commission that parents have to answer questions about, like medical history. You'll get your bank voucher. You'll get samples of the uniform, the patterns, and so on.
If, for example, we're taking a child who is a 4-year-old who is coming from another school, then that child would need to take a transfer letter, which we would have given to the parent in May when they come to take out and return.
A is for yellow, yellow. Z is for zoo.
That's the time you take your child in, you get a feel of the school, you ask the relevant questions and stuff like that.
The orientation for the students, now that's sometimes done in a summer program or in some schools just prior to the reopening of school in September. They will have an orientation day for the new students. But basically we find that having an orientation during the summer where they'll have more time, they will meet and interface with the teacher they'll have. They'll get accustomed to the classroom that they'll be in, bathrooms and so on. They are much more prepared.
I'm a circle, circle, I wanna be a square. I wanna be a triangle.
And that preparation begins at home. Help make the transition as smooth as possible. Moving from home or daycare to school is a big step. So start talking to your child about going to school. Make the conversation fun. Play dress up. Put on the school bag. Use a coloring book. Whatever it takes to get your child ready for this next great adventure.
Wherever you are, I'm a star, I'm a diamond, I'm an oval.
And that's where we end things, but only for today. Be sure to join us again tomorrow for another informative program. We are available online at your leisure. Visit our website, YouTube channel, or social media pages for this and other magazines. Stay in touch while on the go by downloading our app that's in your smartphone's app store. On behalf of the entire team at the GIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.